So when I checked myself in the middle of the workout, I said, I'm loved, I'm supported. Look at all the things he does for me. I'm gonna have a good day. I finished my workout. I got in a good mood. I'm listening to a podcast. I'm walking home. I pull up to the apartment. I come upstairs, and this man, rules aren't meant to be broken. They're meant to be rewritten altogether. If you're ready to play by your own rules, if you are a rebel with a cause, I think you'll love it here. Bring a friend, sit back, and enjoy another episode. Or don't. Remember, you write the rules here. Check 1 2 1 2. Hello, my love. You are now tuned in to another episode of Rima's Rules. We're going to play a game today. And that game is a metaphorical game because if you've been here before, you know that I love to speak in metaphors. I want you to imagine that for the past year of your life, you have been a magnet, and just reflect on the things that have entered your life in the past year, the relationships you've attracted as this magnet, hypothetically, the career opportunities, the financial opportunities, the fortunes, the misfortunes. I want you to imagine that you have been a magnet. And then I want you to ask yourself, do I like what I've been attracting? If the answer is yes, for the most part, I like what I've been attracting, then congratulations, you are an effective magnet. If the answer is no, I don't like what I've been attracting at all, actually, then that means you are an ineffective or misaligned magnet. There is no question, my love, in this game, this little hypothetical metaphor we have going on, whether or not you are a magnet, though. Like, you can't just say that in the case where you have attracted things that you like, yeah, then I'm magnetic. I can take credit for that. But in the case where I don't like the things in my life, I wasn't attracting those things. They just came to me. Like the toxic relationship that you keep, playing on repeat, the negative experiences at work. Every time you check your bank balance, you don't like what you see. You can't just attribute those to bad luck, because the truth is, my love, whether you see it or not and whether you like it or not, you are a magnet. This is not a hypothetical game, and I'm pretty sure you already kind of realized that as I was taking you through it. This is real life. You are magnetic. I know there's all these videos on YouTube right now of how to be magnetic. You don't need to know how to be magnetic. That's not the question. The question is not how to be magnetic. It's not how to turn off or on your magnetic force. It is how to be more discerning and more aligned in the things that you are attracting. It's not a question of whether you have magnetic powers. It's a question of whether you are clear about what you are attracting. So these 3 rules that I'm about to give you are how to be an effective magnet, how to actually attract things that you like into your life. So consider this some sort of tune-up to the magnetic powers that you already possess. Rule number 1 is that you are always magnetizing. When I look back on certain relationships, romantic relationships that I attracted, I cringe a little bit because it says so much more about who I was being at that time and so much less about that person. Like, it's not his fault that he existed. It's my responsibility to not attract things in existence that I don't want. Like, him being toxic and, not the best person romantically is his thing to deal with. I didn't need to attract that in my life. And so it's so much less about blaming him for whatever he has going on, and so much more about holding myself accountable to the fact that I magnetized that. So if you ever want to figure out what kind of a magnet you are, you really just need to ask yourself, what is in my life at this given moment? What kind of relationships and opportunities have I attracted? And from there, you can extrapolate what kind of magnet you're being. In a past video, I talked about how your results are telling the truth about you. And really, rule number 1 right now, that you're always magnetizing or that you're always a magnet, is just a metaphorical way of saying the same thing. Sometimes we are not honest with ourselves about who we are and who we're being. You tell yourself one thing, but you do something completely different. And the things that you're magnetizing are truly always in energetic alignment with who you're being. Not who you say you're being, and definitely not who you think you're being. Who you are actually being. And because it's so hard for us to be real with ourselves sometimes about who we're actually being, sometimes it's just easier to look out into the world and be like, what am I attracting? And from there, extrapolate who you are being as a result of that. And so when you think about my toxic ex, now that I'm reflecting on it, I'm like, yeah, girl, what did you think you were going to attract? You were a 20-something rebellious girl with self-worth issues up the ass who was obsessed with male validation. Like, what did you think you were going to attract? Like, what type of guy did you think was going to answer that back call? If that was the energy you were putting out into the world, if you're signaling this energy of low self-worth, seeking male validation, of course you attracted the avoidantly attached boy who never wanted to commit and constantly kept breadcrumbing you, like duh. And now it just makes so much sense. And I really want to help you understand that the power was always within you. You are so much more powerful than you think. And sometimes that scares the heck out of us. If you want to learn more about that concept, watch my last video on how to stop crying and start creating your dream life. But back to being a magnet. You're magnetizing from a place of who you are being. So you say one thing, you say that you're sick of being treated unfairly, but are you being the person that demands respect? You say that you are done with emotionally detached men, but are you being the type of person who attracts a secure man? If you do come across a secure man, how do you act? Are you being the person, be real, with actual standards? You say you're getting so fed up with your friends crossing your boundaries, but are you being the type of person who keeps promises that you make to yourself? Do you honor your own boundaries? These are the kinds of difficult questions to ask yourself. Like, zoom in on any area of your life where you don't like how things look. It doesn't have to just be relationally. Like, it could be about money, right? I say that I want to be wealthy and I have an abundance mindset. Am I being the type of person who sees abundance when my account is looking low? Am I being the type of person who feels abundant when I have to make a big expense? These are the hard questions I'm asking myself right now. As someone who has made a lot of money, as someone who grew up seeing money, as someone who aspires to make a lot more money, when I have to make a big purchase, I still feel that feeling. And so I have to be real with myself that I'm not being right now the person who can attract abundance if I'm still operating in scarcity. Anything I hold you accountable for, my love, I hope you can see I'm checking myself on. Like, if there's one thing you can count on with this channel is this whole rated R realness that we talk about. I'm applying it to myself. I'm taking my own advice 10 times before I try to give you any advice. So I just wanted to show you an example of how I'm taking my own advice on what I'm magnetizing. So case in point, my love, stop pointing the finger and pointing out things you don't like and look in the mirror, turn inward. People really misunderstand Gandhi's quote when he talks about being the change you want to see in the world, but this is really what he meant. What he meant is you are a magnet, and before you could talk about what's wrong out there, look within and change that, tune that up, tweak that, so that you can start to attract more outside, because you're only ever attracting a reality based on what you are magnetizing. Rule number 2 is understand that you don't see people as they are. You see people as you are. I've talked about this tattoo before, and it just keeps coming up lately because it's so relevant to the kinds of stuff that I talked about. Even when I got it, I don't feel like I really appreciated the real depths of it, even though I knew it was deeper than what it means. But the quote in Arabic is "Ayunik al-halwin." And I want to post a tweet that some girl posted the other day about it. I guess in Farsi, they have the same kind of expression and it means the same thing and it's used in a very similar context. And in Arabic, for us, it's like someone tells you, wow, your shirt is so beautiful. And you respond, "Ayunik al-halwin," which means it is your eyes that are beautiful, therefore enabling you to see beauty. And I just am obsessed with it. I will never shut up about how obsessed I am with it. Not just because of the humility ingrained in us not being able to take a compliment and, turning it around on someone else, but just the wisdom to be able to say, it's kind of like a way less basic way of saying beauty is in the eye of the beholder, because that doesn't even do it justice. But the idea is that in order to be able to see beauty in something, you need to be beauty, because everything in life that you're seeing is a reflection of who you are. And I want you to really think about this when it comes to the people in your life that you are attracting, and even the ways that you interact with and see those people. You can literally prime your perspective right now to go out and see the ugliness in the world or go out and see the beauty in the world. And I guarantee if you go on that same walk to go get that same coffee, to go run the same errand, you will have a vastly different experience based on the perspective that you chose to see the world through. And so therefore, you will really get feedback from the world based on who you are being. Am I being someone who appreciates beauty, who is beauty? Or am I being someone who appreciates and attracts heartache and attracts anxiety because that's who I'm being right now? We all have had that day where we woke up just feeling off and then it completely turned into an off day, not because the day was automatically off, but because we interacted with that day from an off perspective. I had a moment like this very recently where I had to check myself. There was like a very minor moment with Ahmed and I where I just didn't feel supported. Couldn't really talk about it, and I had to walk to the gym because I had my workout class, and the whole walk I just had this feeling of like, he doesn't support me and I'm not being supported and I'm going to be in a bad mood and this is going to ruin my day. And then when I get home, like I feel like I'm not going to be able to be normal with him because I just feel like he could have been more supportive, and maybe I'll just let him know that he could have better supported me. Like these feelings are just snowballing, right? And I was literally in the middle of my freaking workout. Like, am I really about to do this right now? Like, am I really gonna let this snowball? And then I stopped in my tracks and I realized, oh no, this sounds a lot like this wound or story that I typically tell myself, that nobody's gonna help me. I need to just do it by myself. And it's this like hyper independence wound that I have where I constantly feel like I'm not supported. Not just in my relationships, but in my life. And it's the way that I internalize this wound is, instead of blaming people or being mad at people necessarily, or even getting hurt, I just retreat into this like hyper independence where I focus on myself and I only depend on myself. And it's a belief that I'm trying to unravel, and I am unraveling, but because I had put it into motion for so many years, I have to catch myself when I'm going down that pattern, because if I'm not careful, I will continue to create experiences that reinforce this belief that I need to be hyper independent. Like, I will literally create opportunities for people to let me down so that this belief can hold strong. Because if I look at the world through the perspective of I am supported and I am loved and people do help and people do want to do nice things for me, then there will be no need for this hyper independence, because I will be able to depend on people in a healthy way. If you've ever listened to Eckhart Tolle or even, Joe Dispenza, there's this focus, like your ego is addicted to these certain stories or feelings. And I do think one of my addictions in the past was feeling like I'm not supported, feeling like I'm being slighted, feeling like I'm all alone in some ways. And indirectly, because your ego wants to clasp onto that, because that's its identity, like it sees that as your identity, that story, you indirectly start creating these mouse traps for people to fall in. It's so much easier for me, by the way, and I'm sure you're like this too, to identify these patterns when other people are doing them. But when you exist in your own blind spot, it takes an incredible amount of self-awareness to stop yourself in your tracks when you're about to do it. And that is what I did that day in the middle of the workout. I stopped myself in my tracks. The first thing that I thought was, I don't like this feeling. And if you watch my most recent video, you'll know you're always choosing your feeling. So I asked myself in that moment, I don't like how this feels. I don't like to feel unsupported. I don't like to feel like I'm not being loved in the way that I want to. Okay, you don't like the feeling. Let's think about it. Why do I have this feeling? What feeling do I want? Okay, well, I want to feel supported. I want to focus on that. And from me being able to shift and tell myself, I want to feel loved and supported, I was able to zoom out and see that I was creating a mousetrap for him. Like, really, I was truly creating a trap for him to fall in, because if I just told myself for the rest of that day, I'm unsupported, I'm unloved, he's not helpful, I was going to create a reality where that was true. I was going to ask a difficult question at the wrong time and ask him to help me with something, because I knew chances are in that moment, there's like a billion wrong ways to respond and one right way to respond. And so I'm setting him up to reaffirm this story that I'm unsupported. So when I checked myself in the middle of the workout, I said, I'm loved, I'm supported. Look at all the things he does for me. I started giving myself all of this evidence, because there's incredible, insurmountable piles of evidence once you decide to see things that way. And I told myself, I'm going to have a good day. I finished my workout. I got in a good mood. I'm listening to a podcast. I'm walking home. I pull up to the apartment. I come upstairs, and this man literally did 2 loads of laundry and folded all of them in the time that I was gone. Like, for me to literally feel like I'm not supported when the one chore that I was going to do that day that I really did. This is my least favorite chore. I don't know about you. I can do dishes all day. I'll do the dishwasher. I'll clean the kitchen. I really do not love laundry at all. I feel like it's such an annoying task. And for him to literally take literal loads off of my back and do it, not just for us, but for me. Like, he did that for me. He did that to show me that he's helping me on a busy day. And that matters to me because my love language is acts of service. So that like really spoke volumes to me. And not only did it speak volumes and make me feel good about him, but it was kind of like a beautiful reinforcement of what I wanted to believe, which is that I am supported. It was like this quick way of my world and my life reflecting back to me what I wanted to see. And I just want you to try that, especially if it feels hard. Let's say you have this wound where you feel overlooked or neglected. I want you to tell yourself one day, just one day, I am seen. See if you don't notice all the ways that you are seen that day. See if you don't notice the barista make eye contact with you and maybe put a smiley face on your cup that day. Or see if you don't notice the ways in which somebody remembers something about you from the last time you guys had a conversation. Like, obviously, don't try to prescribe the ways that you're going to be seen, because that's not a faithful way to go about it. But just be open to the possibility that you are seen. If you are feeling unattractive, wake up one day and say, I'm a baddie. I'm attractive as hell. See if people don't start trying to talk to you that day because of your energy. See if you don't take a glance in the mirror and feel even better about yourself than normal. See if you don't take a glance in the mirror and feel like you're just literally seeing something different in front of you. That's what I've been doing lately. It definitely has been working. But seriously, decide how you want to feel, because you truly see people and experiences not as they are, but as you are. So start from within and get clear on that. Last but not least, in becoming this aligned, amazing magnet, is to recalibrate your point of attraction. You're always a magnet. So if you're not liking the stuff you're pulling, if you're just pulling in a lot of trash, you might just need to hide out for a little bit, because you might need time to recalibrate so that when you go back out into the world, you're happy with what you're bringing in. I'm so serious about this. Like, I'm all for some seasons, mini seasons of hibernation where we become very intentional and clarify what we actually want. If we get to the point where we know that we're always attracting, but we don't necessarily feel aligned or even in control of that, it can feel very overwhelming to try to recalibrate while we're taking the trash out every 2 days because we keep attracting trash in. I'm going to go through this with 2 examples, one with friendships and one with relationships. I'll start with the friendships. I got to a place where I looked back on all of my failed friendships and realized the common denominator was me. So as much as it felt nice to point blame and be like, she was like this, but she was like that, and then she did this, but then she did that, really, I was the common denominator in all of those failed relationships. So I had to get very, very real with myself, just like I recommend to you all. I have a whole video about friendships, by the way, so if that's something you're interested in, you should watch that video about being the more detached, avoidant friend. But basically, not to take you through the whole video right now, the summary of it was I was more detached, and I was attracting people who were more needy. Like, those were all the types of friends that I attracted during a period of my life, were people who were very needy. And if you even read the book Attached, there's this thing called the anxious avoidant trap, where if you're someone who believes that everyone's going to encroach on your boundaries and in your on your space and on your time, then you will attract people that will inevitably encroach on your boundaries, space, and time, for the exact rule that I talked about in number 2. Like, you see people as you are, not as they are. And so, not saying that those people are just generally needy, but the dynamic that I was attracting in my relationship with them was one where I felt they were trying to encroach on my space and on my boundaries. So I had to get real with myself about, like, okay, girl, at this point, it's your responsibility to get clear on what type of friendships you want. What does friendship look like to you? What does an ideal relationship look like to you? And I kid you not, for over a year, I kind of went on a friendship hiatus. Don't get me wrong, I have phenomenal friends and relationships in my life that I maintained during that time. And these were people who I felt were very aligned with what I wanted in relationships, but I couldn't quite figure out exactly why. I'm like, I know I want her as a friend. I know I want her as a friend. I know I want to keep this relationship, and let me just show some extra gratitude for those relationships in my life so I can start attracting more of it. But for the time being, let me just lay low because I am a magnet. I don't want to be out in these social events magnetizing the wrong thing all over again. And it's funny, I was out with a friend the other day that I recently attracted based on what I'm about to teach you. And I was literally telling her some of this, and I was saying, like, inherent in me doing that in this little hiatus was me actually recognizing my own power. Because I'm like, oh no, people are going to want to be my friend. People like me. So I need to chill. I need to hide out a little bit. I need to stay home and not be all out and about at these social events, because I know that I can attract friends. I already know that because I've done that. But will I like the types of relationships that I've attracted? And I had never actually, believe it or not, as much as I was intentional about the type of romantic relationship I wanted to attract, I had never sat down and really put thought into what types of friendships I wanted to attract. So it wasn't until recently, in working some of this stuff out and talking it out, where I got very clear. I want to say about 2 months ago was really only when I got very clear about what I wanted in my future friendships. And I kid you not, you guys, this has been the most social few weeks of my life, just because I kind of like decided to put myself back out there as the magnet that I am. And the kinds of relationships that I've been magnetizing are people that like I'm just so aligned with. Like, we're all too busy to be stressed about who's texting who back. But on top of that, the conversations that we have are so interesting and inspiring, and about each other's dreams and how we're all holding ourselves accountable, and how we're like this stuff. Like, this is the stuff that I talk about with my friends now. And that's what I'd been craving. I just never really realized that. I never wanted to talk about like being in a victim mindset or gossiping, even worse. Cause I did used to gossip. I'm not going to lie, but I would have these friendships where the kinds of conversations, they didn't feel elevating. They felt very much so like an echo chamber, and I didn't belong there. Cause I don't want you to tell me what I want to hear. That is definitely one thing that you probably see from this channel. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. And the most transformative moments of my life were when people told me exactly what I didn't want to hear. Like, the thing that probably would have hurt my feelings the most are the things that ended up helping me grow. And I just wanted more relationships like that. And now that's what I'm getting. The dating example was actually right after my dad passed away. He passed away unexpectedly in 2017. And so again, I gave myself like this year hiatus where I'm like, oh, okay, the one man that you were like obsessed with just died. So there's that. And if you go out into the dating pool right now, there's a very high chance that you're going to be trying to like replace that male energy, or you're going to be trying to replace that validation. And that's not good, girl. You don't want that. You don't want to attract a man because you have like these dead daddy issues. That's not going to be cute. The types of people that you're going to attract through your grief are probably not going to be your husband. And they might, they might cause you a lot of issues. I took ownership of my healing journey. I know we're always like on these different healing journeys. I'm not saying that if you're not 100% healed, you shouldn't date. I just think in my very specific example of like, okay, I had some like validation issues with my dad. He just died. Got to figure that out. I just don't think that this is the best time because of like the male to male dynamic. So I don't regret that at all. As a matter of fact, I was a little too hasty getting back in because in my mind, I was like, oh, it's been a whole year. I can go date. And the first relationship, really like around a year later, that I started kind of attracting was such a shit show, you guys. Like, I literally made this man into my dad in my head, even though I said I wasn't going to do that. And he was so far from it. Like, God bless my dad's soul. What an insult for me to even try to compare that guy to him. No offense. The guy was cool. He was nice. He just wasn't. I was just creating this image of him in my head because I wanted to, I wanted to replace the energy that I felt like I lost. And it wasn't until I got so real with myself, like, you're not going to replace that girl ever in life. That's why you're grieving it so much, because you know in your heart, you're never going to find someone like that. And you shouldn't. That's what made him so special. And it's not fair to your future husband for you to be trying to have him fill a void when he can just take up his own amazing space on his own. Who that person is so amazing that he doesn't need a point of comparison. So once I got to a place from there where I really was just focused on myself and validating myself and loving myself, which took about a couple years of just sitting with those uncomfortable emotions and recalibrating my magnetic field from this place of just love. Like I became love. I became self-love. I became self-worth. I became a person who just loves being in her space and being in her energy and taking pride in what she's creating in life. It wasn't until that I attracted someone like Ahmed, who does all of these things and also is all of these things. Like Ahmed can catch a vibe wherever, whenever, with or without me. And that's how I was. So I attracted somebody who was very similar in the fact that he doesn't need anybody else for him to be happy, but he is so excited to share that happiness with somebody else. And I'm just so proud of the relationship that I've attracted and that we've cultivated from this space of understanding what my point of attraction was. So go back to the first question I asked you. If you are feeling like you are not liking the stuff that has been entering your life lately, sit down and reflect on that. And if it's feeling too overwhelming and the stuff is coming in fast, the trash is coming in fast, sit back and recalibrate. Like give yourself a break. Go on a dating break, go on a friendship break, go on a career break, whatever arena where you don't like what you are attracting, recalibrate so that you can get your point of attraction down and get very clear on what you actually want, and then go back out there and see how things will completely transform like night and day. This should go without saying, my love, but please understand that you deserve beautiful, thriving relationships. Nothing about what you've been attracting, if it's far from beautiful or thriving or nurturing, is a testament of what you deserve. It is not a testament of what you deserve. It is not a testament of how worthy you are of those things. It is simply just a testament of where your focus is. You need to know, in order for you to switch that focus, you need to know that you deserve the best. Like you need to know that. If you do not know that you deserve the best, you need to sit back and recalibrate, like I said, so that you can take the trash out that is convincing you that you don't deserve the best. Sometimes when we have trash lingering around, it messes with our energy. And so that's not yours to claim. Take the trash out, break up with the toxic ex, leave your toxic job if your boss is abusive and micromanaging, leave the environment that is causing you to doubt yourself, and recalibrate from a position of power in alignment. Understand that the things that you want are inherently things that you deserve. You just need to decide that you deserve them so that you can start bringing in the things that you actually want instead of feeling like you're falling victim to the things that end up in your life. You are a very powerful magnet, and I'm so excited to see what you're gonna attract once you come to terms with that power. And look, I'm not gonna tell you to like or subscribe. I know you hear that more than enough. But what I will say is if you enjoyed this video, bring a friend with you next time. Let's leave people even more powerful than we found them. I love you so much, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.